are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the College League Podcast. I am Larck. I will take on Twitter, here to talk to y'all today about the Iron Bowl, the greatest rivalry in college football, arguably the greatest rivalry in college sports. And if you live in the Southeast, arguably one of the greatest rivalries just ever. You know, it ranks up there very highly to me. And our people up in the North are going to hate this one, but this game is a lot bigger than the game. So, the Iron Bowl is, of course, this Saturday. I've been pondering my pick all throughout yesterday. Of course, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I almost forgot to leave that out for everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the last family day you get to have before the Iron Bowl. If you live in the state of Alabama, of course, like that's a pretty. You try to stay away from politics and maybe for a little bit stay away from the football conversation. Try to enjoy the company before after you get done with the turkey and everyone just starts screaming at each other. But the Iron Bowl is this Saturday, November 30th at 2:30 p.m. CST. ABC's got the game. Auburn, not favored in this game, surprisingly so, sarcastically. Auburn is a 11.5-point underdog in this game. Of course, it's being played in Bryant-Denny Stadium, which Auburn has not won in Tuscaloosa since 2010, when you had an absolute real-life superhero at your quarterback position in Cam Newton. But there's a weirdness about this game. This isn't the Alabama that we're used to seeing under Nick Saban. This Kalen DeBoer Alabama team is, what's the word I want? It's not invincible. It's not a immovable object or an unstoppable force on offense. This Kalen DeBoer team has weaknesses that we're not used to seeing with an Alabama team, especially over the past 20 years. And with how the last weekend went, with Alabama losing 24-3 to a bad Oklahoma team and Auburn finding a way to take down what's going to be an SEC runner-up in A&M, it puts a weird spin on this game. I think that, the freshmen on Auburn, DeMarcus Riddick and Perry Thompson and Cam Coleman, of course, having themselves a week, calling out Alabama at every single point. Cam Coleman and DeMarcus, of course, doing it with the media. Perry Thompson calling out people on Twitter, and of course, Eugene Asante getting asked by a fan about the Iron Bowl, and he says they're gonna whoop some butt. But the confidence that this Auburn team has right now really brings the aura or the morale up for what I think about Auburn in this game. And now just to get kind of started in it, I mean, there's some key parts to this game to look out for. It started off with the availability report. This is the first time I've ever really went and looked at it. I always forget about it. But some key guys are missing here for Alabama. And just kind of going into that, I mean, they won't have Deontay Lawson, who is their second leading tackler. They're not going to have Quandarius Robinson, who's another top player on their team. They're going to be missing out on Keon Sabb, who's their sixth leading tackler, one of their leaders in the secondary. And those are some big missing pieces to a defense that needs to be all there, because Auburn's offense has looked pretty good this year despite a few errors. And just look at the Auburn offense and Bama's defense. Just looking at the numbers, Auburn's offense, passing yards wise, 34th in the nation, 260.5 yards per game. Rushing wise, 171 rushing yards a game, 52nd in the country. Going to the Bama's defense, 181.2 yards per game allowed through the air to only 143 yards on the ground allowed, which is 63rd in the country. And kind of just points per game, Auburn's 29, 59th in the country. Bama's allowing 17.5 points per game, which is 11th. And, of course, turnovers is going to be a big one here. Alabama's forcing 2.3 turnovers per game. That is second in the country. Auburn's offense, though been better as of late, and having half of their turnovers all coming from 2 games earlier on in the year, they're still ranked pretty low at 116th in the nation with 1.8 turnovers per game. They're tied with a lot of teams with that. So it's not really putting it to full regard what that means. But Bama's losses have some voodoo about them in the sense of every single one of Bama's losses, they were attacked through, or at least 2 out of the 3, with Vanderbilt and Oklahoma. They had to deal with a dual threat quarterback and Diego Pavia from Vanderbilt, and surprisingly enough, Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma. Jackson Arnold had 131 yards rushing against Bama's defense. Diego Pavia, he only had 56 yards rushing, but we've all seen Pavia. We're all Auburn fans here, unless you're a Bama fan. You wanted to see what I had to predict for the Iron Bowl, and wanted to see if an Auburn fan was going to pick Auburn to win the game. But Pavia has a way of playing the game where he might not get a lot of yards, but he's making a difference one way or another, and he did against Alabama. Held the ball all game long. Now, another thing about another loss on Alabama's schedule, and this is another thing to kind of go with going forward. Tennessee had Dylan Sampson, who had 26 carries, had 139 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Nico Iamaleava had 44 yards behind him. And Jackson Arnold, again, 131, but behind him, the running back, Xavier Robinson, 18 carries, 107 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Oklahoma, and the win over Alabama. And then you had Vanderbilt, their leading rusher, not Pavia, Cedric Alexander, running back, 21 carries, 64 yards, and 2 touchdowns as well. Now, one thing of note, running backs all had 2 touchdowns in those games, something that let Jarquez eat. But Auburn has the ability to do that as well. And, of course, they're looking at the numbers again. I mean, Auburn doesn't run the ball a lot. Of course, a lot of that's from Jarquez, who's at 1,100 yards this year. He has 8 touchdowns, which feels like he mostly got from the past few games. But Auburn can attack Alabama's defense with multiple different weapons. Jarquez Hunter is going to be heavily utilized in this game. I would be very surprised if Jarquez does not have like 20-plus carries in this game. But another X factor does come into play here. Peyton Thorne. How often do we see Peyton Thorne's legs? And now I'll be the first to admit, I was not the biggest fan of Peyton Thorne throughout the entirety of the season. I've had shows where I've actively rooted for him to get put on the bench. But over the past few games, a new Peyton Thorne has emerged. He's looked different. He's looked better. He's looked poised, but of course he still has those instances where he looks like his old self. But we're seeing more good than bad, which is a great thing to see, especially as the Iron Bowl comes up. Now, how often will Peyton Thorne run the football against Alabama? On the year, Peyton Thorne has 102 carries. That's second on the team. That's 72 less than Jarquez Hunter, and that's 50 more than Damari Alston. He has 2 rushing touchdowns on the year as well. I think you're going to see a little bit more usage of Peyton Thorne's legs. Not enough to where he's going to put up Jackson Arnold numbers, but whenever the pocket breaks down, if nothing's there down the field, if there's an opportunity, I see Hugh Freeze telling Peyton Thorne, hey, if this isn't there, tuck it and run. Hey, if KLS is getting double teamed and Cam's running a difficult route for you to make the throw, tuck the ball and run forward. And, of course, another thing to note here for Auburn's offense, I mean, you don't have Rivaldo Fairweather. I'm going to say you don't have. He's questionable to play, which I would find it very hard to believe that Rivaldo Fairweather is not going to play this game. With every opportunity for it to possibly be his last, hurrah as a college ball player, I see him playing in this game. And again, back to my point I was making, Peyton Thorne is the X factor here for Auburn. And that sentence right there can have 1 to 2 different effects on your mentality in going into this game. Because you don't know which Peyton Thorne you're going to see going forward. Are you going to see the Peyton Thorne of old? Are you going to see the one who threw 3 interceptions in the game? Are you going to see the one who isn't making the passes down the field well enough to he's not doing turnovers. I mean, this is the Missouri game. He's not doing any turnovers, but the ball's not getting to where it needs to go. But are you going to see what you've seen of the past couple of weeks? Are you going to see a confident Peyton Thorne, the one who's passing the ball down the field, the one who's throwing balls in the air that only his receiver can catch? Which one are you going to see? That's the biggest worry for every Auburn fan watching this game, is you don't know which Peyton Thorne you're going to get at any given point of a drive, really. But the game solely relies on him. And because if you start running Darquez Hunter so much, we've seen it before this season where if the defense starts keying in on Quez, they'll load the box. They'll make it harder for Auburn to run. And then, of course, you'll just have to start pounding the rock the entire time, and hopefully a Kentucky-level performance happens. But when you have weapons like KLS and Cam Coleman and Malcolm Simmons, Valdo, all those guys, you got to get the ball to them. And Bama's passing defense, while it is not ranked pretty low, I mean, I'll pull it up just for a second here, 17th in the nation, it's not without its weaknesses. It's not without the holes to be attacked. Of course, looking at the year, I mean, there are a lot of good wide receivers in the SEC, and I think Auburn's talent that they have it'll rank highly up there in terms of wide receiver, especially wide receiver duos that Alabama has seen this year, because I don't think Alabama's seen a KLS. Alabama's not seen a Cam Coleman yet, especially at the same time. And of course, a little dash of Malcolm Simmons in there can really just show off. So Auburn's offense has to do a couple of things. Of course, as I said, Peyton Thorne's got to run the ball. Darquez Hunter has to run the ball. But you got to feed Cam Coleman and KLS. They have to get the ball as well. There's plenty of time in this game to share the love across all the weapons on this Auburn offense. But you're going to have to also do that while the offensive line holds its ground, which the offensive line hasn't played bad all season long. But Alabama currently walks into this game with 22 sacks, and you can't allow them to get to the quarterback. You can't allow them to make Peyton Thorne feel under duress and start throwing Hail Mary level passes that end up in the hands of Bama defenders. So yeah, all you gotta do, and it sounds simpler than it is, of course, but feed Jarquez, get your playmakers the ball, and you gotta put some confidence in the Peyton Thorne. And again, whether or not that makes you feel bad about the game or not, if you get the Peyton Thorne you saw for 3 quarters worth of last week, I mean 4 if you count overtime as its own quarter, you're in for a really good game from Peyton Thorne. I mean, I don't think he didn't play terrible against Alabama last year. I wouldn't count him as the reason Auburn lost that game. But yeah, I mean, that's all you got to do. And now defensively, looking ahead at this game, I'll pull up the numbers here. Auburn's defense has been one of the nation's top units in the country. 50th in the nation in passing yards allowed, 20th in rushing yards allowed, only letting up 20 points per game and only 0.8 turnovers a game. But I'll get more into that in just a second. I go over this every single time that number comes up because it looks more embarrassing than it shouldn't be. Alabama's offense, 52nd in the nation in terms of passing yards per game, 41st in rushing yards, points per game. They get about 36, and the turnovers per game, they're 48th with 1.3 turnovers per game. Now, this Bama offense likes to do 2 things. They like to run the ball with Jalen Monroe, and they like to throw the ball deep. Looking at Bama's wide receiver core, you have 3 guys out of the top 5 who all have 10 or more catches on the year, they're averaging 15 or more yards per catch. And Auburn secondary, while young, has been really good about, hard press, man-to-man. Of course, Jay Crawford had a freshman mistake last week. I think it was a little overzealous, trying to get an interception, whiffed on it. Noah Gray took it for 6. Now against Alabama, you won't have a chance. You won't be able to do that. I would like the opportunity for you to bat the ball down before you try to go for an interception. You can get interceptions off Jalen Murray. We saw it last week, 3 interceptions, his first career 3 interception game. But with Ryan Williams, he is very shifty. He is a lot. He is just as advertised. And I'm going to tell everybody, prepare yourself for this guy's only 17 comments all throughout that game, because especially with Greg McElroy on the call. Greg McElroy has been pretty unbiased, but it always worries me whenever a rivalry game has one of the team's quarterbacks on there. Aaron Murray, I'm looking at you, where hopefully the bias doesn't show, but Aaron Murray, his bias showed last time I remember him commentating in an Auburn, Georgia game. But Jalen Milroe is going to be the guy to watch on Alabama's offense, strictly for the reason of, can he perform? Now, he's Alabama's leading rusher. He has 10 more touchdowns than anybody on Alabama's offense. I mean, if you just add up the other rushing touchdowns, you get 20, and there's 37 total. So 17 touchdowns on the ground for Jalen Milroe, 15 through the air. And Jalen Milroe wants to pass the ball down the field. If not, he wants to run the ball. It's going to come down to DeMarcus Riddick, who, of course, has been talking, and I'm not opposed to it. I love the confidence. I love it. Love it to death, because he got me feeling some type of way about this game. Jalen Milroe can raise the roof over a defense. He can air it out whenever he wants to. But if you can keep him in the pocket, don't let him run around. Let him try to find that first read. The first read's not there. He's got to go to a second read, and that's when he starts making those mistakes. Jalen Milroe has a really good deep ball, but the intermediate passing game, the short passing game for Jalen Milroe is not there. That's something that always shocked me whenever people talked about him being a first-round NFL draft pick. Was I'm not seeing what you're seeing, because I see a guy who probably should be getting recruited to the NFL as a running back. And I'm not saying this goes back to the Lamar Jackson comparisons that people were making all the time, that I always heard about that, and going back to that draft. Everyone's like, they should be drafting Lamar as a running back or a wide receiver. And I always thought that was stupid, because I saw Lamar play in college, and dude's an absolute dog, and I knew he was going to be good from the get-go. Milroe, I'm not getting that from him. There are parts of the passing game that are missing. And, of course, it's not worth drafting a guy because he has a strong arm if he doesn't have the accuracy to go with it. It's like Joe Milton. Joe Milton can throw a 60-yard pass all he wants, but if you try to ask him to throw a 20-yard post route, he's going to overthrow it. It's not going to work. So, key to this game for Auburn's defense, DeMarcus Riddick. He's going to be the guy in charge of keeping Jalen Milroe honest. You got to keep him in the pocket. You cannot let him beat you with his legs. Of course, in the year, 615 rushing yards for Milroe, 4.6 yards per carry. Of course, they have some running backs, too, in Jam Miller and Justin Haynes. They're going to be a nice little 1-2 combo. They got 13 combined touchdowns on the year. But Milroe's going to be the guy to watch here. He has more carries than both running backs do. And you got to watch over the top. Now, other than that, I mean, Bama's offense hasn't been much more than that. It's been the deep ball and the quarterback run. Oddly enough, that's the stuff that Bama's defense is weak at, and they got to practice against all the time. But Auburn has a good chance at winning this game. I don't know if it's the bug in me, if it's showing out or something, if it's something in the air, but I honestly think Auburn's going to walk out onto Nick Saban Field in Bryant-Denny Stadium in that ugly city of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and find a way to win a football game. I think Auburn gets the win. I think it's close. I mean, I don't think it's a blowout either way. I think Auburn gets the win. I think you get 31-27 Auburn. That's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling a little too confident about it, is what I feel. Like it's one of those things like your brain says one thing, but your heart says another. Now your gut says another thing. It's a whole mixture of things, and I don't know which one's telling me which. I've been battling this prediction all day long, and I've settled on the fact that I think Auburn's going to win this football game. 12-point underdog, only given a 12% chance to win this game. You have a walk-on kicker as your starting kicker. You're coming off of a game where you almost blew a lead, but the other team's coming off of a blowout loss. Both teams back against the wall, and I think the Tiger has a better shot here. I like what I can get from Peyton Thorne to if he can get the ball to his weapons, if Jarquez Hunter can eat all day long. Auburn doesn't have that massive of a talent gap between them and Alabama. And as I said earlier, Auburn has a better defense than Alabama does. From top to bottom, I like Auburn's defense all the way through. You got some young guys who are going to be All-Americans by the time that they either graduate or go to the draft. And a lot of these guys aren't going to be here for 4 years. I like Auburn's defense to get Auburn this win in the Iron Bowl. Auburn gets their first win over Alabama in Tuscaloosa since Cam Newton. I'm liking the vibes. I'm liking the vibes a lot. So that's my prediction. 31-27, the Auburn Tigers get the win. So with that, we're going to go to a quick little break. Other side of this break, I realize my logo is not in the top right. That sucks. After a quick little break, we're going to talk about Auburn basketball and then do the pick'ems of the week because, I got to talk Auburn basketball first. So stay tuned after the other side of this break, and we'll be right back. Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program. And of course, thewarreport.com. Go to the shop. First page, college loop hat. Second page, Feelin' Loopy t-shirt. I'll go ahead and shout out. It's a free sponsorship deal, really. There's no deal going on, but free sponsor for 47 brand for the hat. I got it at Alumni Hall. I love it. Even though people don't like the fact that Auburn's upside down, I do love this hat. I love the style. So 47, got it at Alumni Hall. So if you like the hat, there you go. I thought I'd make a fan account for all my hats. But of course, buying the merch is one way to support the show. Another way is the best way to support the show. The way that I want you to support the show more than anything. I could care less if you ever buy one of our hats. But I will care if you don't like, comment, subscribe. Liking lets us know that you love the content we're doing over here. Commenting lets you join in on the conversation. What is your prediction for the Iron Bowl? Are you booging alongside of me? Do you think Auburn's going to get the win here? What do you think? How confident are you in your pick as well? And, of course, subscribe. We're over 900 subscribers. We're getting to 1,000. We're getting very close to 1,000 subscribers. And, of course, we have social media platforms as well. We have a link tree somewhere in our bio where you can follow along on all social media platforms. TikTok's kind of going off a little bit. We got some followers coming in from TikTok watching our videos. We got Bama fans walking in on our TikTok videos, like talking crap. Joining over there, of course, every platform at The College's Loop. Now, Auburn basketball is the best team in the nation. Pause it for dramatic effect. I'll say it again. Auburn basketball is the best team in the country. Last night, or yesterday afternoon, whichever one. I mean, of course, Auburn played till midnight the past 2 nights before that. Auburn won the Maui Invitational. Did it in dominating fashion, too. Of course, they had the one game where they almost blew it, had to come back from down 18, came back and won that one. Then they absolutely destroyed North Carolina. Then they came out in the court yesterday and absolutely destroyed Memphis. Up next for Auburn is Duke. At Duke. And Auburn could go into that game at the highest number 2 in the country. I don't know if Kansas, they're going to let the precious baby Kansas go down a spot. But Auburn's been playing the number 1 team in the country, and they have looked like it every step of the way. There's been very few times where I was like, this team has some haven't seen it yet. Look at the box score. I mean, you got to start off with Janai Broome. 21 points versus Memphis and 16 rebounds, almost got 20-20. He's the first player to have a double-double in every single one of his games. If I'm not mistaken, that could be wrong. He's at least the first Auburn player to ever have it 5 games in a row. I know it was 5 games in a row. It was not 7, first 7. But he's up there with one of the stats for like Tim Duncan. I saw it somewhere and I meant to save it, but I forgot it. Janai Broome is playing like the number 1 player in the country, and it's because he is the number 1. He is the number 1 player in the country. Janai Broome has been playing lights out. And you always talk about you only need one guy to really break out for the Auburn team, and you're going to get a different guy every night. And it looks like you're going to get a different guy every night who's going to break out alongside Janai Broome, which I don't know what you call breaking out anymore for Janai. It's just Janai being Janai. But the other player to talk about in this game, and I love it to death because he shot perfectly from the field. Dylan Cardwell had himself a career night scoring 18 points. 18 points for Dylan Cardwell. Also had 6 assists, which was tied first on the team with Janai Broome, who I didn't even mention Janai Broome's like full stat line. I'll do that real quickly. Janai Broome, 21 points, 16 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 blocks, and a steal. Dylan Cardwell, 18 points off of 8 of 8 shooting from the field. And of course, some of those being dunks. Shot 1 of 1 from the 3-point line, which is like his 4th make on 9 attempts in his career. He's shooting better than some of the other Auburn players in his career. He also had 3 rebounds, 6 assists, and had himself – he didn't have a block this game. He had a great one last night or 2 nights ago, and he also had a steal as well. And, of course, just across the board, I mean, this team was legit. And if you don't think Auburn basketball is the number 1 team in the country, I don't know what team you're watching. I really don't. This team is ridiculous. They're absolutely crazy. Denver Jones had 11 points. Also had 3 rebounds, 2 assists. You lost Chad Baker-Mazara, who continues to play crazily. Somehow, only had 2 fouls. I do believe he kicked a guy in the head, if I'm not mistaken, and he got away with that, which I'm all for. 14 points for Chad Baker-Mazara. 3 rebounds, 5 assists, and I almost said turnovers. I'm about to read that out. Miles Kelly, quieter night for Miles Kelly. 2 points, but had a rebound. Of course, he didn't have the ball out. That's the great thing about having a team this deep. Off the bench, Shad Pettiford had 6 points, had 2 of 5 from the field, 1 of 3 from the 3-point line. Had an assist and had himself a steal. JP Pegues had 3 points. He shot the ball 5 times. Finally got one to go through. Also had 2 rebounds and an assist for himself as well, and a steal. Ja'Kai Howard got in for the last 2 minutes of the game, able to put up 4 points. Finally got to see him after the plane incident. Chris Moore got 2 points, and Jaheim Hudson, Preston Patterson, is it Preston? Prez Patterson, and Blake Mushalek did not get on the board, but came in later in the game. So, as a whole, I mean, all you can really say here is Auburn is really good at basketball. I mean, holy crap. It is ridiculous how good they are. I mean, looking at the stats in general, Auburn shot 57% from Memphis's 50. Memphis shot better from the three-point line, but they also didn't shoot as much from the three. Auburn's defense did everything possible to keep them from shooting that. Free throw-wise, Auburn shot better from the free throw line. Auburn had less turnovers, had more points off of turnovers, had more rebounds offensively and defensively, more second chance points, more points off the bench, more points to the paint, less fast break points, but more blocks, more steals, a lot more assists. And not for a singular second in this game did Memphis ever have the lead, which is crazy to think about. Of course, was not Haggerty tried on Memphis. He had 27 points, 11 of 20 from the field. Dude had a crazy, crazy day. But this Auburn team is crazy. And, of course, this isn't like a full-on analysis of the game because not all I talk about whenever you talk about how just good this Auburn team is. They are ridiculous. This team is crazy good. And that game next week, December 4th, might I add, is going to be absolutely crazy. And I truly wish I could be there for that environment because holy crap. I envy anybody who's going to that game. I envy everybody who's going to that game. Even the Duke fans. I envy y'all for going to watch that game too. Auburn has gotten to play 3 ranked teams this year and taking care of business in all 3 of them. And they have another opportunity to take it down another top 10 team. This team is crazy. Absolutely ridiculous. And super excited the season is we got how many more months of this? 4 or 5 more months of Auburn basketball? Oh my lord. Yeah, Auburn basketball, really good. Duke's up next. SEC Challenge next week, December 4th, later in the day. But, of course, we'll be recording late that night because that entire day is also reserved for signing day, which will be covering that on social media platforms as well. And as well, before we get into the pick'ems, one little Auburn note. Just want to shout out Auburn soccer coach Karen Hoppe, who has announced her retirement after 26 years with the Tigers and her career. She has led Auburn to 7 Western Division championships, 1 SEC regular season title, 1 conference tournament crown, and 18 NCAA tournament appearances. I don't know how I said that. Her and 293 wins at Auburn is a program record, and she ranks 32nd in Division I history with 357 wins. And I was doing some research about I can't lie. I'm not the biggest soccer watcher. Believe me, I hate it for myself too. I wish I could watch it more. But kind of looking at the Auburn soccer complex, and that's what it's called. It could go for a name, and with all the accolades that Karen Hoppe has, I think you kind of gotta name it after her. So keep that in mind, everyone in the athletics department. So with that, we're gonna do a quick little break. So it should be a pause, and then everything's gonna change. So we're gonna go behind the TCL curtain. On the other side of this, we're gonna be doing the pick'ems of the week. So stay tuned. For you, it's gonna be like a snap thing, but for me, it's gonna be like 30 seconds. So of course, not only is it Iron Bowl weekend, it's also rivalry week. And we got some games that are happening on Friday. And of course, it is Thanksgiving today. Sadly, we will not be watching the Egg Bowl, which for some reason, I don't know if it's something to do with it. I guess it's something to do with ESPN scheduling, which I'm not a fan of if it means I can't watch the Egg Bowl on Thursday. On Thursday, it's going to be Memphis and Tulane at 6:30. Cool. But Friday, holy crap, Friday. I mean, we got games like Oklahoma State and Colorado, Oregon State and Boise State. And Boise State is trying to maintain a spot in the playoffs. But the game we're going to care the most, we got two games actually, but 2 games we're going to care about the most on Friday. And it's like, I think it's the first time this year we've actually done a prediction for a game on Friday. The Egg Bowl is on Friday. Mississippi State at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a 26-point favorite. But in this game, I know Jeff Lebby's new to the SEC and everything, but the Egg Bowl is one of the most underrated rivalries in just sports in general. I don't think the Egg Bowl gets enough love. I think Ole Miss is going to win this game just outright. Mississippi State's not a good team. But stay tuned for something crazy to happen. Every year, something has to happen. I'll never forgive Elijah Moore. I predicted a Mississippi State to win a game. I picked Ole Miss to win a game, to win the Egg Bowl, and I had the perfect prediction. And then out of nowhere, Elijah Moore did the faking the dog going to the bathroom celebration, which made them miss the PAT and they lost the game ultimately, I believe. Ruined my prediction. So I don't really like Elijah Moore for that reason. Because it kind of ruined my prediction for that. But yeah, I'm taking Ole Miss in this game. Up next on Friday at 6:30 p.m. CST, the Georgia Bulldogs host Georgia Tech. And these tickets are expensive. Tickets as low as $4,352. I don't know why they are that expensive, because that's crazy. I mean, of course, there's another game on here that we're talking about a little bit that's more expensive. That's going to be a glitch, right? There's no way that tickets as low as $4,300. That's not a thing. Yeah, I immediately go to the website and it's $241 is like one of the lowest prices. Okay, that's simmer down, ESPN. Georgia's a 19-point favorite in this game. I think Georgia Tech covers this, but I think Georgia wins it. Nothing too crazy yet for rivalry week, but you can't let the Yellow Jackets get by you. I think Georgia Tech could very well upset the Bulldogs in this game if Georgia's not careful. Now, on to Saturday, a game that is just a game, not the game, a game. At 11 a.m. CST, Michigan travels to Columbus, Ohio, take on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State 21-point favorite, and Michigan's not good this year, so Ohio State. Will they cover the spread? I don't know. They could. I think they will, more than likely, but I think Ohio State's going to win this game pretty handily. Ryan Day's second win versus Michigan? Question mark. Up next, I don't know if this rivalry has a name, and if it does, I don't know it. Number 8, Tennessee travels to Nashville, take on the Vanderbilt Commodores. Now chaos could happen with this game right here. Tennessee is a 10.5-point favorite. I want Vanderbilt to win for the sheer part of the chaos aspect of things. But with the playoff committee being stupid, always, and trying to find any possible way for Alabama to get into it, I'm going to try to force my hand here and pick Tennessee. That way, any possible outlet for Bama to get in the playoffs gets killed. So yeah, I'm taking Tennessee in that one. But a game this is the first upset. I believe the Palmetto Bowl, or not Palmetto. Whatever I know this too. South Carolina rivalry name. It's after the state flower. It has a name, and Google's not helping me. I think it's the Palmetto Bowl is my assumption for it. Palmetto Bowl. There we go. Okay. It made me think that was crazy. South Carolina, number 15 in the country, travels to Clemson, South Carolina, to play the number 12 team in the country. Clemson's a 3-point favorite, but I'm taking the Gamecocks in this one because, I'm picking Tennessee to kind of ease the chaos off a little bit. But if South Carolina beats Clemson, we're talking about Shane Beamer taking a team to the playoffs. And that's a crazy statement, especially for a team that has gotten whooped once by Ole Miss, but they play close every game they've been in outside of the Ole Miss game. Their 2 losses are by 3 and 2 points for LSU and Alabama. Of course, 24 for Ole Miss. But a 20-point loss can still get you to the playoffs per Bama. But this is also a South Carolina team that tore up A&M, who's a game away from potentially going to the SEC championship. I'm taking South Carolina in this game. I think they're a really good team. They've been starting to play like it too. Up next, the Battle Line rivalry, a name that I've actually been talking to people, and I feel like I'm the only one that knows this name really. I'm used to this game being played on Saturday on a Friday. It's supposed to be Egg Bowl Thursday, Battle Line rivalry on Friday, everything else on Saturday. But they all shifted out of whack. Arkansas at Missouri. Missouri somehow still ranked and the favorite in this game. I'm not falling for that whatsoever. Give me the Razorbacks in this ball game. Now, I think this one does have the Sunshine Showdown, if I'm not mistaken. I should have looked all these up beforehand, but I like to it's not called the Florida Cup. It's not. Sunshine Showdown. See, I know things. FSU is hosting Florida in a game that's going to be another loss for the Florida State Seminoles as Billy Napier continues to have a really good end of the year, getting his 7th win and taking down rival Florida State, who is on the year 2-9, soon to be 2-10. So up next, this isn't a rivalry. This is just something to kind of shoehorn in here just to have another game. I wanted to do this game over all the other nonsense games. Oklahoma at LSU. This game could be close, though. This game could be good. It's not really a rivalry, but it could be a really good game. LSU's a 6-point favorite. LSU's now unranked. I didn't even know that they were unranked. I think I'm going to go with LSU here. It's in the Swamp. It's at night. Not the Swamp. It's in Baton Rouge at Death Valley. At night, give me LSU here. I just maybe got a sham of a game from Oklahoma. And after that, 2 more games left. Number 3, Texas travels to College Station to take on the number 20 team in the nation, Texas A&M. Texas is a 5-point favorite in this game. And the big question for this game, Quinn Ewers is listed as probable. This is a winner-take-all level game. Whoever wins this game plays against Georgia in the SEC championship. I'm taking Texas A&M to win this game. I think with it being at home, I think Elko has them boys acting right. I think that after the loss to Auburn, they got back to the shop. They fixed everything. They got right. After they walk in to their own stadium and take down Texas Longhorns. Hope you enjoyed the dramatic effect. But yeah, it's a weird gut feeling. I like Texas A&M to win that game and find a way to get themselves a playoff spot somehow, some way. So yeah, I'm taking the Aggies in that one. Last game on the docket, or the one everyone probably least cares about on this entire thing. Kansas State, number 24 team in the country, takes on number 18 Iowa State in a game that kind of affects whoever the Big 12 gets in. The Big 12 is having a party of different type of things that could happen for their conference to get them in the playoffs. I'm going to take Iowa State in this game, to take the home team. Pretty much simple as that. Big 12 is weird. Very weird. So yeah, that's my predictions for this rivalry week's series of games. Of course, let me know what you think in the comment section below. And of course, don't forget, what's your prediction for the Iron Bowl? That's always going to be the question for this week. Do you think Auburn's going to win against Alabama? If so, what's your score prediction? What does Auburn need to do, in your opinion, to take down Alabama? And, of course, who's the best team in college basketball right now? And if your answer is not Auburn, then I'm deleting your comment. Regardless, though, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget the like part of that and subscribing. We're getting very close to 1,000 subscribers. We're 90 away. That's close. So on path for it. Actually, 911. We actually got one as I'm talking. So with that, that'll do it for this installment of the College Loop Podcast. Of course, don't forget to check out our social media platforms as well as Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works, all those at the College Loop. Visual aid right up there. at the College and Loop. Not and, but the College Loop. And of course, follow me on Instagram as well at Dylanlark at DYLENLERCK. And of course, Twitter at YABoyTank at YABOY the Tank. And of course, check us out on the audio versions of the show as well on Spotify Podcast, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. Those shows kind of come out an hour before, hour and a half before the actual shows do. But of course, I could not end the show without wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Let me know. Actually, follow-up question. What's your favorite dish to eat at Thanksgiving? Mine is ham. And now, as you know how we end this show, thanks for watching. And as always, War Eagle, and let's beat Alabama.